Can public schools make you cut your hair? Well, if you watched our special on, if you watched our investigation into haircuts from back in 2019, you may know the answer to that question. But as Law by Mike tells us, there may be some odds and ends.
Public schools make you cut your hair?
Teacher, I can't see.
Of course you can't. That's the dumbest haircut I've ever seen.
What's up?
I know just the solution.
Mike, you can't do that, right?
Well, it depends on your state. Number one, generally schools can't control hairstyles because of your right to freedom of expression.
Oh, right on. Yeah, sucks to suck, kid behind me.
Oh, man. No. Mike, give me something here. These split ends are killing me. Number two, but schools may be able to control your hairstyle if they can prove that it's distracting or disruptive. Aha! See? No one in class can see over this wannabe punk fit.
It's okay. I'm more of an auditory learner.
Well, I'm more of an aggravated teacher. Now hold still. I don't want to Van Gogh you.
No, wait! Mike, do number three.
And number three, no matter what, teachers cannot physically cut a student's hair without parents' permission.
Ha! Good luck getting a hold of them. I never even seen them.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh yeah, the haircut was a cry for help.
Can public schools make you cut your hair?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Yes, schools can make you cut your hair, depending on the policy and the state. Like corporal punishment, 19 states make it legal to spank, while counties make it illegal. In one case we talked about, one teacher, one principal, who was the focus on our Give Me a Break Classic. That teacher, that principal was fired. That former principal, she was under investigation after what happened. Here's that video.
The principal in Florida caught on camera spanking a 6-year-old with a paddle. The child's mother.
Finally, you understand what's going on. Wait. Would you go out? Out.
That's a school principal.
No, put your hands down.
Hitting a 6-year-old with a wooden paddle in front of her mother.
Con el odio que le dio a mi hija, o sea, fue un odio que realmente yo nunca le había dado a mi hija, como ella le dio.
We know the name of the woman with the paddle through a report from the Hendry County Sheriff's Office. It says the principal of Central Elementary, Melissa Carter, and Cecilia Self, a clerk, are the two women in the video. We tried to reach them through the school district, but were unsuccessful. The child's mother recorded this video. Why didn't she stop the beating?
Si yo lo hubiera hecho con mi propia mano, a mí me hubiera ido mal. Yo no sé, yo estuviera en la cárcel.
Mom told deputies the school called Tuesday, April 13th, saying her daughter damaged the computer. The fee? $50. In the report, Mom says the school also mentioned paddling, with her and a deputy present. In the report, the mother says she didn't understand the process correctly. Later that day, she went to the school to pay the fee, and they took her into the principal's office.
Y ya la tenían ahí. Entonces, la principal empezó a gritar.
Behaving and taking care of the stuff. You don't keep messing up things.
Mom looks around, no cameras. Nerves set in.
Dijo, bueno, no hay cámaras. ¿Qué estamos haciendo aquí en este lugar, mi hija y yo solas?
So she did what she thought was her only option.
¿Cómo compruebo si no había una cámara?
She hid her cell phone in her purse and pressed record.
Yo sacrifiqué a mi hija para que todos los padres se den cuenta de lo que están haciendo en esta escuela.
Hendry County School District's policy does not allow corporal punishment. It says, quote, the superintendent shall designate sanctions for the infractions of rules, excluding corporal punishment. In fact, the policy encourages procedures that, quote, do not demean students and do not tend to violate any individual rights constitutionally guaranteed to students.
For aggravated battery, this is an aggravated battery. It's battery using a weapon that can cause severe physical harm.
Brett Pravinsky is the family's lawyer. He works with undocumented immigrants.
The child's terrified. She feels vulnerable. There's nothing she can do in the hands of these adults who overpower her and treat her so brutally, savagely, and really sadistically, if you you look at that video, this principal was sadistic.
Pravinsky says it's now up to the state attorney to decide whether to pursue charges against the principal and the clerk in the video. Mom took her daughter to the doctor that same day, documented the red marks and bruises. She now worries about the long-term psychological damage.
Y voy a hacer justicia por mi hija, porque si no lo pude hacer en presente de ella, lo voy a hacer con la justicia.
Wink News contacted the Hendry County School District several times. Their official statement is no comment.
Que nadie tenga miedo de solamente por decir soy hispana, yo voy a hacer lo que sea para yo sacar a mis hijas adelante y tratar de enseñarles que aquí está una madre que sí mira por ellas.
And like I said, 19 states make it legal for corporal punishment. But some counties make it illegal, and school districts have policies against it. So if it was a law that says it's legal, it's up to the school district to say, we don't want you to corporal punishment. But if they do it, then that's policies to be followed. In fact, our next English classic, we're going to talk about a principal basically gender swatting. That's how it is. That's how I call it. It's our next English classic. Can Stanley Cups be related to bullying? It happened 4 weeks ago, and next we're going to tell you all about it. Still ahead, a survivor story like no other. A father and son separate in order to survive. We'll have their story. Stay with us. It's becoming now a trend. All these Stanley Cups that you see are probably being targets for bullies. Can you imagine this case scenario? Imagine not having imagine you're least popular, not popular because you don't have a Stanley Cup. Then they pick on you because you don't have it. Well, 4 weeks ago, teens bullied for Stanley Cup was knocked off. But these have been grounds for bullying. Take a look at this.
Year's must-have item, the Stanley Cup, not the hockey. What's this year's must-have item, the Stanley Cup, not the hockey trophy, but we're talking about those reusable cups.
And now the already viral sensation is trending again because the hot cup commodity is being blamed for bullying in schools. Sharon Crowley gives us the 411.
My friend has a Stanley Cup, and she definitely looks down on people that don't have a real one.
These teens will tell you, Stanley Cups are so popular at school these days, having one has become a status symbol. It means a knockoff just won't do.
I've seen like on TikTok a lot of girls making fun of young girls who don't have Stanley Cups or can't afford them.
Ohio mom Dana Motika went viral on TikTok, posting how her 9-year-old daughter was bullied for bringing a less expensive look-alike to school. So she gave in and spent about $35 to buy her daughter a real Stanley Cup.
Did I think that she needed one? No. Apparently I've been proven wrong by the children in our school that are making fun of her for not having a real name brand Stanley.
I got a Stanley!
She says parents, not the kids, are at fault.
We have got to teach our kids to not make other kids feel inferior for not having the things that they have.
Child psychologist Dr. Nava Silton agrees.
I say parents, let's really try to focus on kindness, on socio-emotional development, on building up our children in the really important ways and not building them up with these materialistic items.
It's a lesson these New York City teenagers have already learned.
I think it's really messed up, especially if you're bullying someone because they can't afford something. Parents to teach their kids you don't need the real one to still be able to join the fun.
On the Upper East Side, Sharon Crowley, Fox 5 News.
Oh, great. It's like being those immature little kids. I got a Stanley Cup, you don't have it. Nanny, nanny, boo, boo. You freaking serious? Nanny, nanny, boo, boo. I got a Stanley Cup. You don't have one. I'm gonna pick on you. No, who's gonna stop me? Alright, one more. I'm gonna take your machine. Now you're not. He's gonna stop me. That would be us. Oh my God, Zach and Cody made my lives great. Without Stanley Cups. These things have been known to cause bullying. It's a trend. I mean, look at all this. $199 for these and $185 plus shipping and handling and taxes. It's a trend that's going on. It's causing bullying. Take a look at this.
Morning, Sheila. Well, many kids want these Stanley Cups to feel included, to fit in, but those who may not have one or might have the knockoff might experience some bullying in school. I did speak with a therapist. She's from ThriveWorks. She says this isn't a new issue. Whitney McSparron says different trends over the years have caused some kids to feel isolated. That's because they don't have that certain object. Now that social media has grown, kids are now more aware of the latest trend, and they feel like they need to hop on board to be accepted. Some schools have had kids bullied for having the knockoff Stanley Cup. It's important for kids to remember Stanleys are nearly $50 and some families just can't afford them. McSparron says this is a good opportunity to talk to your kids about sense of self and confidence, and also how an object doesn't define them. Many parents will buy the cup so their child feels included, but therapists say always doing this can have issues in the long run. And McSparron says if kids are always chasing the latest trend, how is that going to sustain them in the long term? For those who are doing the bullying, she says to tell them to ask themselves why. How is this making them feel better about themselves?
By having the thing, by buying the cup, you may be helping them in the moment avoid specific bullying, but you're not fixing the feeling for them. You're not fixing the problem. It's really our instinct as parents to want to save our kids from those hard feelings. But all you're doing in that one instance is fixing that one instance.
And if a child is experiencing this type of bullying, they're encouraged to talk to their teacher, counselor, or parent to find different solutions. For now, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Chloe. Therapists say teachers and parents need to set clear expectations and also consequences for bullying to prevent it.
Thanks for checking out Local 12's YouTube channel. Click.
This is a trend. This is one of the issues here. One of my main goals throughout the show is to help people stop bullying and speak up. And this trend is going to be on the Stop Bullying Speak Up page. If you'd like to join the Stop Bullying Speak Up page, it's just that simple. Go on Facebook. Keyword Stop Bullying Speak Up. That's the group that I created after I heard of an incident happened here at Corpus. With over 48 members of mine, everybody everybody knows. And you can might as well, and if you're a member of this group, which is a public group, you can share your story, and your story will air on my show. Will air in this broadcast. As well as the episode which will be posted on the group. So if you want to share your story, and together we too can end bullying. Again, it's a public group, and everyone's invited. There's enough members here to just take a stand against bullying. Alright, still ahead. A father and son separate. Still ahead of. In order to survive, A father and son need to separate in order for them to survive. Up next, though, the killer of Selena speaks out after nearly 30 years. Next year, it's going to be the 30-year anniversary since Selena Quintanilla was killed. And when we come back, the killer speaks after 30 years. Stay with us. There's now a crime that's being put back on the spotlight. If you remember on this broadcast, we focused in on the murder of Selena Quintanilla, her mix of Mexican music and salsa. She was killed by the hands of Yolanda Saldivar, who wanted to create a fan club. But all that ended in murder when she got a gun and killed Selena. Now, if you watched that 2020 story which we showed you, she insisted that she did not kill Selena. Remember, she said in that 2020 piece that she pointed the gun at herself and said, "Don't close the door." And at that instant, the gun went off. It hit Selena. There was blood on the door, and she crawled. But the jury did not buy either of that. She was given a life sentence, 30 years without probation. And now after 30 years, the killer speaks out again. And this time, it's all on an Oxygen documentary called Selena and Yolanda, The Secrets Between Them. So the question is, will we ever find out the secret? Take a look.
A nearly 30-year-old crime is back in the spotlight.
Yolanda comes out, and she points the gun at Selena. Selena's gone by this time, running. She brings the gun down and she says,
In 1995, Selena Quintanilla Perez was gunned down by Yolanda Saldivar in Corpus Christi, Texas. Her death sent shockwaves across the music industry and through homes across Latin America and the U.S. A 2-night documentary series on Oxygen called Selena and Yolanda, The Secrets Between Them, revisits the crime.
After so many years, I think it's time to set the story straight.
One of the voices you hear is Saldivar herself, who is still behind bars today, but who will be up for parole for the first time in 2025.
Yolanda, it's me, Selena. Can you give me a call?
Selena was just 23 and a rising star in the music industry after winning a 1994 Grammy Award for Best Mexican American Album. The day she died, she met Saldivar, who was president of her fan club at the time, at a hotel room to discuss business. That's when gunshots rang out.
I'm not sure that any witnesses said they heard an argument, but they definitely heard the gunshot. And then a young woman ran out of that room.
Investigators take viewers through the events of the day and the evidence that sent Saldivar to prison. Saldivar and her family go through evidence that they say shows there is more to this case than what the public has been told.
This is not a simple case of murder.
Selena and Yolanda, The Secrets Between Them, premieres on the Oxygen Network February 17th and 18th. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano.
So if you want to know, check your local listings for the Oxygen channel and check it. Again, it's going to air on February 17th and the 18th. And maybe then you'll know more about the case. We also focused on more of the evidence like the bloody shoes and the money evidence that led to her father threatening to arrest her. Now also, if you still watch that 2020 piece, like we're going back to, you might have realized she denied everything. But the other side of the story that she told, like I talked to you about, was she did not point the gun at Selena. She pointed the gun at herself, and then she pulled the safety bag and said, "Don't close the door." The gun went off. But for the very first time, next year, Saldivar could be eligible for parole if that happened. So I might take Saturday off just to watch a documentary, and coming up on Sunday, after the second part, I'm going to come back on and give you my take on what's happening. It's a give me a break crime first. That's right. GMB is going to go all crime. Where we're we're not only going to look at the crime, but we're going to put ourselves in the shoes of the killer. Like if we watch a murder story, we're going to put ourselves in the killer's shoes. It's like Netflix interactive, but it's different. You, the viewer, are going to watch the story, and you, the viewer, are going to be the killer. And if you were the killer, what would you do? If you were the killer of this person, would you get away with it? Or would you fess up and say, yes, it happened? We'll give you a preview about that a little bit later in this broadcast. Up next, to survive, the father and son had to separate throughout the winter snow. Dennis Murphy has this story. Stay with us. Over the past few days on this broadcast, we brought you some survival tips and stories. We brought you survival tips about how to stay safe for the winter, and if you're lost down the wilderness, how to stay safe, prepare if you're lost out. Not only that, we also showed you some remarkable survival stories. We showed you a teenager got attacked by a bear. We showed you a man who did not have any arms, who had to use his feet. We also showed you some fire that had happened, and it happened that would cause a survivor story that happened. We also went to the embassy row to a different country in Peru, where for 100 days there was a hostage situation that happened for 100 days, and which is a couple days away and was now a couple days away from the end of Survivor Week, which brings us to one of the volumes. Now, if you don't recall, what I told you was I had all 3 volumes. It's gotta be here somewhere. I had all 3 volumes of that Dateline story. Of the Dateline Survivor Stories, which was from an old Discovery Channel called Survive, telling the tales of people who lived countless lives, triumph to tragedy, and the struggle to survive. One of these tapes is what we talked about with the grizzly bear attack, which was Deadly Encounters. If you want to get some of these, go to your local Amazon and look these up. These are from Discovery Channel and Survive. And this one is what I'm about to show you. This is a story about a father and son who went on a good trip. And what happened next would have caused the father and son to separate, and what happened next would have father and son surviving by separate. This is from the 3rd volume in the series, from Nature's Wrath. It's amazing what you can find on Amazon these days. So when I first watched this, I thought it'd be a good story to talk about for the show, because before all these Dateline stories, because let me tell you, when I show you Dateline stories, I would put myself in the shoes of this one person, and when I did survival stories, I would put myself in the shoes of the person who survived, and have myself, okay, what would I do if I was in this situation? And so, by watching each survivor story, you would get the sense about living the traumatic of life and death, even if it meant being buried alive. But as you're about to see from this story on, from that story, the father and son would have to separate in order to survive all those cold temperatures.
Lost in that frozen wilderness. Lost, and after 9 long days, given up for dead. That they survived is a testament not just to courage, but to love. Here's Dennis Murphy.
As ski resorts go, the name is fancier than the place. Hill of Eagles, a 6,000-foot mountain packed with day trip skiers. It seemed like the perfect outing for a busload of Boy Scouts and their dads. Catching the T-bars up the hill that Sunday, January the 15th, were Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Mike Couillard and his 10-year-old son, Matt. The colonel was on military assignment in Turkey.
This was the first day we skied this particular area.
Local ski instructor Levant Koksel says conditions on the slopes were superb.
That Sunday, it was quite good weather. It was sunny in the morning.
Matt and the colonel got in a few runs in the good morning weather, then stopped for lunch. It was the last meal they'd eat for the next 9 days.
I contemplated having another sandwich that day, and I regretted with all my heart not having taken the opportunity.
What the colonel didn't know was that the weather had turned. Fog was moving in, but Colonel Couillard was sure they could get in a few runs before the 4 o'clock bus ride home. Father and son set off for the highest trails on the mountains, a challenging stretch for 2 intermediate skiers. It was after lunch here on the mountaintop that the colonel and Matt's day trip started to go terribly wrong. By then the fog was so thick they could barely see past the tips of their skis, and with a blizzard moving in from the valley, they missed the turn on the trail that would have taken them back to the ski lodge for the last run of the day. Instead, they followed this ridgeline path out along the mountains. That led to the backcountry wilderness, a trail that ultimately took them on a face-to-face encounter with death.
This kept on snowing and snowing. It just seemed like the situation, the cards were not exactly stacked for us. It was a bad situation and only getting worse.
The colonel could still see the lifts off to their right, but he knew he'd missed the ski run. So he continued down and to the left, hoping to cross a road and maybe find a person who could give them a lift back to the lodge.
I guess maybe this is a male thing, but I still thought, well, we can still make the bus. Maybe we'll hitchhike back up to the hotel if we have to, but we'll still catch those guys before they go.
But the 4 o'clock rendezvous at the Boy Scout bus came and went. No Colonel Couillard and his son. By then, the pair were in a whiteout, pushing through powder drifts 5 foot deep on the backside of the mountain. With every passing minute, they skied further from the lodge. The Air Force pilot drove his son Matt hard to keep him moving in the storm. The boy, not 5 feet tall, was falling in deep snow. His pants and jacket were soaking wet, the temperature dropping below freezing.
Was Matthew getting scared at that point, Colonel?
Yes, he was. I pushed him pretty hard. I mean, I apologized later. I said, "Man, I'm sorry. I really wanted us to find shelter tonight, and I pushed you real hard, and I think he understood that, but it was, what I thought was necessary to get us to safety."
Back in Ankara, the Turkish capital, Mary Couillard, the colonel's wife, waited anxiously with their daughter Marisa. Another son, Mark, was at the ski lodge. He'd been on the outing, but didn't ski in the afternoon. That night, the colonel and Matt skied through a pitch-black snowstorm for an incredible 5 hours, all the while driving themselves in the wrong direction. The back mountain trail had taken them on a long looping curve into the tree line about 5 miles from where they started.
He couldn't go anymore. I even tried carrying him. But then that, in combination with as deep as the snow was, I just couldn't keep my balance.
Looking for at least some cover, the colonel made a crude shelter beneath a pine tree.
I took him out of his clothes and gave him that extra layer that I had. Basically, both of us got in my ski pants and zipped up my coat.
The blizzard raged all night long. Father and son huddled together. The colonel was an Air Force Academy graduate, and in pilot training had taken a survival course. He knew the odds of surviving in extreme conditions like this were slim without better shelter. He also knew he had already violated one rule of survival training.
They teach you in a survival situation to generally not move. Well, we'd already moved a bunch.
The resort ski patrol searched for the 2 Americans until almost midnight.
We check all the runs with the snow truck, and then just in case maybe they injured, and then we couldn't find anything.
But no one could imagine that a recreational skier and a small boy could ever have traveled so far in a blizzard.
Did you sleep at all that first night?
We did, but in real short snatches. I was real concerned about his feet and, frostbite in his hands.
They had 5 pieces of hard candy between them.
Did you get real hungry?
I was thinking some pancakes. Pancakes with some butter and some peanut butter.
That first morning, the Colonel spotted something that could buy them some time. A hole under a rock. Nothing more than a 2-foot-high crawl space. A little cave he lined with pine boughs.
It actually was something we had to slide into very carefully.
So you couldn't even stand in a crouch?
No, we couldn't. We had to, in fact, there were times where we warmed each other's feet. Put mine on his belly and his on my belly, and we warmed each other. And that had to be done kind of like this, laying over the side and up against the wall of the cave.
By now, the search was starting in earnest. Ski patrol cruised the off-trails. Volunteers from the embassy joined Turkish police, fanning out across the mountain. But the Colonel's cave was way beyond the searchers' maps. Father and son spent a second night trying to keep each other warm.
Now, what were you telling Matthew?
Well, first of all, we said, why is this happening?
And the answer was?
I said, well, it's because your father screwed up. He got us lost.
Tuesday morning, American military helicopters were dispatched. 14 U.S. Special Forces soldiers under the command of Captain Timothy Fitzgerald set out in 3 teams.
We went up there with a lot of skiers, really good skiers.
The drill was to imagine themselves in Colonel Couillard's predicament.
We skied from the top of the lifts and down all the different trails to see where he might have made a decision that took him off course away from the lodge.
By now, 3 nights had passed. The snow was still coming down hard, and they still hadn't eaten. The Colonel daydreamed about his wife's homemade chocolate chip cookies. They heard a rescue helicopter come and go. From the air, the pilots missed the cross skis the Colonel had set as a marker.
We could see him looking on the other side of the ridge, and I figured we were just on the other side of the boundary of where they were looking.
The Colonel realized now it might be a while before they were found, and his survival training had taught him that keeping hydrated was critical.
People can live for about 5 days without water, and the other option was to eat snow, which is not good either. If you keep doing that, then you just keep dropping your body temperature lower and lower until you just freeze to death.
The Colonel squeezed his numb and blistered feet back in his ski boots. Matt's feet were even worse, badly swollen now with frostbite. The Colonel stumbled out of the cave and saw something that seemed like a miracle. A stream only 10 yards away.
I figured my son wasn't going to use his ski boots again, so we took those. I took them down to the stream and filled them up with water, and took one of our ski poles and broke 2 ends off of it, making a sipping tube out of it, so he could drink out of the boot.
Far from that cave in the mountains of Turkey, in Lisbon, Maine, the Colonel's mother, Cecile, prayed for her son and grandson.
I didn't sleep much, I didn't eat much, and first thing I would think when I get up in the morning is, oh, do I have to face another day like this?
Then the disappearance of the American Air Force officer took a bizarre turn. An anonymous caller in Istanbul told a Turkish news agency that the Colonel and his son had actually been abducted by Lebanese Muslim extremists. And they'd be executed in 48 hours unless the Israelis released a certain Lebanese prisoner. U.S. Deputy Chief of Mission in Turkey, Jim Holmes.
Throughout Thursday, we were headed down a track which looked rather convincingly towards hostage taking.
But by the next day, the American embassy in Ankara discounted the threat because the caller had no proof to offer, like photos. Another trail ended nowhere. Time was working against them. In their burrow, they'd hear the helicopters fly right past. And as Thursday became Friday, the 6th day, growing weak, sinking, they said aloud what each had privately thought.
Remember what you were talking about?
Yeah, mostly about heaven. What it would be like what my mom would do without my dad. My sister and brother would be heartbroken.
I wasn't going to lie to him. I said, Matthew, it is possible that we might die. I mean, I was just hoping that he would go first. I sure didn't like the idea of being left alone to die, but I sure didn't want him to watch me die and then to be alone.
The colonel faced a terrible choice. If he went looking for help, he'd have to leave his son behind with frostbite, perhaps to die alone. If they waited for rescuers, they might not make it. The colonel had to make the hardest decision of his life. 1 week had passed. 500 Turkish commandos, military helicopter teams, all crisscrossed the same mountain and valley. But Colonel Couillard and his son had disappeared without a trace.
This is day 7. We talked a lot about, they're not finding us. These guys are really looking hard, but they're not seeing us down here.
Oh my Jesus, forgive us our sins.
In Maine, a mother, a grandmother, could hear no comfort on the news, so she turned to prayer.
We said the rosary, and I talked to God. And I asked him, why was he taking my son and my grandson?
In Ankara, U.S. Embassy staff and friends held a service of hope that the colonel and Matt would be found alive. But by now, most were expecting the worst.
My biggest fear was that he had gone off a rock ledge and that his son had followed in that whiteout.
It's hard to do.
Air Force Captain Barbara Rugo was a pediatric specialist on call, waiting.
And each day that passed, people felt less and less optimistic about finding them.
All the while, Matt and his dad were holed up in the tiny cave. They hadn't eaten in a week. On Sunday afternoon, 8 days after the father and son disappeared, the Turkish rescue forces called it quits. An American embassy person said, "We believe now that the colonel and his son have probably died in the blizzard. We're likely to find their bodies in April when the snow melts." Among the rescuers, only the U.S. Special Forces believed it would find survivors and not bodies.
We thought we would still be looking for survivors based on the training that he had. But, you have to be realistic.
But the Special Forces were still working hills miles away from them. That same Sunday, when most of the rescuers went home, Colonel Couillard heard a helicopter fly past them for the third and final time. He struggled to the top of a ridge, hoping the helicopter would spot him. He waited an hour and a half and went back to Matt.
Was there a part of you that thought, I might not make it?
Yeah, that's always a nagging thought in the back of your mind. You wonder, is this really the right choice?
He'd made a decision to burn his last reservoir of energy in an all-or-nothing push down the mountain.
Well, I said, Matthew, I know that you're going to hang in here. I just really want you to stay in this cave and don't go anywhere until somebody comes back for you. And I love you, and I will keep praying for you. And please also pray for me.
He headed for a small group of cabins he thought he'd spotted from the ridge, leaving Matthew behind, alone in the cave.
I swore before then I'd never leave him behind. I'd rather, die together than to have him alone. And I just came back to that thought that this was our last hope.
The sun was finally out now in a bright blue sky. It took the colonel an hour and a half to reach what turned out to be not a village at all, but a series of primitive cabins. And cruelly, they were locked and abandoned.
Tremendous amount of wind out of my sails at that point.
The colonel punched out the glass by the door handle and let himself in. He slumped to the floor in exhaustion.
I discovered at that point that my strength was such that I didn't think I could make the trip back. I kept listening for any signs of civilization. Never heard anybody, never heard any traffic on the road.
From the window of the shack, he could see the tree line where Matt was burrowed in the cave, alone, enduring he knew not what.
I'd given up any chance of my controlling the situation. It was just, God, please send somebody because if you don't, we're just going to die.
Matt's greatest fear had settled in and taken residence with the freezing night.
He left, and then he didn't come back, so I thought something happened to him. At that point, I tried to crawl out of the cave, but my feet were so much sore and had so much frostbite that I couldn't walk. I tried to get out of the cave, but he told me not to, but I just thought if he was dead, then there's no way out.
For 2 days and nights, the Colonel lay half-conscious in the shed, nibbling old macaroni and bits of sugar someone had left behind. On Tuesday morning, day 9, he crawled outside on his hands and knees to eat some snow, when he heard, to his wonder, a truck and men's voices.
So I started yelling like a crazy person. I mean, as they came closer, it was this, there was this look of recognition all of a sudden, and they started calling me by the Turkish word yarbay, which is Lieutenant Colonel.
Colonel Mike Couillard was saved by some Turkish lumberjacks. They even knew who he was from the news stories.
I took him into my arms, made him sit down where he was. I asked him, where is the child?
I heard some birds, and I was saying, oh, it's just some more birds. I'm sick of that sound.
But it wasn't, was it?
It wasn't. These people just screamed out, cried out. They heard me talking. I yelled for help, and they heard me.
He looked as if he would break out into tears. We took some of the warm clothing my friends and me had on and put them on the child.
The lumberjacks carried Matt down the mountain in their arms and took him to his father, who was now waiting in a Forest Service office.
Colonel, tell me about seeing your boy again.
I couldn't contain myself. You ever seen a big old man cry? That's basically what you saw that day. I said, Matthew, I'm so proud of you. You hung in there, and I didn't even know if you could do it. But you did, and I'm so glad that we're together again.
The news, they're alive, set off explosions of joy.
We're praising God, and we were crying, and we were so happy.
All right.
And I was the happiest woman in the world.
I told him that we were hot on his track, and if he would have just slowed down, we would have caught him a few days earlier.
They had survived against overwhelming odds in extreme conditions, but it would still take tests to see if they'd suffered long-term damage that would require amputation.
I can't move my feet very good, and it's hard to walk.
From a local hospital, the Colonel and his son were airlifted to Incirlik Air Base in southern Turkey.
Full recovery.
I think so.
Father and son?
I really do.
Fingers and toes?
Yep, intact.
Now, fast forward 3 years later, and the doctor was right. Colonel Couillard still wears those same boots and skis. And yes, he and his family still love getting out in the mountains. The Couillards have settled back in the States at Colorado Springs, where he is a squadron commander at the United States Air Force Academy.
Colonel, the last time we saw you, you were still in the hospital. How did you patch up? What happened in the weeks and months after we visited?
My feet really weren't healing very fast, so they were wondering if I had an infection of some sort.
So you were in more or less constant treatment from, let's see, the end of January through February, March, April, three longish months, huh?
They just basically cleaned it up a little bit so I could heal and covered up with a skin graft on that one foot.
How close are you to being back to 100%?
98%, that's pretty good.
Really? High 90s?
I'm running again. I'm jogging with my oldest son. I thought I'd never get to do that.
In your negotiation with God, you didn't think he'd probably end up that good?
Never. I still owe him.
Young Matt, it turned out, did lose the little toe on his right foot to frostbite. But the injury has healed completely and doesn't slow him down a bit.
Are you freaked out by going up into the mountains at all? You got back into skiing and everything, right?
Yeah. I think last time I said I wouldn't ski again, but I've done now.
Does it hurt at all in cold weather or anything like that?
No. I've regained all my feeling back, and I can walk fine, I can run.
The Couillard family spent the past year building themselves a new house in the foothills of the mountains. Mary Couillard thinks now that their ordeal in Turkey was nothing less than life-changing for an already closely knit family.
It's always there, but then again, it's almost like a dream. Like it really didn't happen because, life goes on, but I don't think a day goes by that you don't think about it because it has impacted us so much.
What is different about the you that came out of the ice cave?
It's a living experience of the direct involvement of God in my life.
really was a watershed event for you.
It was. Every now and then when I'm tempted to worry about something that doesn't matter, I find myself being called back to that experience as a real testimony of what God has done in my life.
The Turkish woodcutters who found the colonel and his son became local heroes. Their reward, their town gave each man a watch and a new suit.
A new suit. Cool. A really cool new suit. Now here's what we got coming up for you on tomorrow's Survival Week.
He's trapped by a raging river. His only hope, a rescue by helicopter. But power lines block the approach, with just a few feet on either side.
That's kind of pretty close. That's kind of pretty close.
Can they save him? When Survive continues.
So that's kind of cool to see. How many times you walked out of a movie complaining that you didn't like the plot or the way it ended? Well, coming up, a new movie came out years ago. If you didn't like interactive film, then you may be in for a treat. Stay with us. How many times have you walked out of a movie complaining that you didn't like the plot or the way it ended? Well, years ago there was a movie that opened in 25 cities across the country that could change all of that. And this was before Netflix Interactive. Because if you didn't like how Hollywood did in its first ever interactive movie, you had no one to blame but yourself. Take a look.
50 years later, that kind of choice is possible in Mr. Payback, Hollywood's first interactive movie in which the audience decides how the plot unfolds.
The lights go out and we throw you into a world, and it's up to you to get yourself out.
It's kind of cool. But today, this is from Interfilm. Interfilm is like interactive. And across the country, all these 25 cities are using Interfilm. And YouTube is doing YouTube is doing interactive. Is doing interactive games where you can choose your own adventure in these things. So we're going to do an example. Right now we're going to do an example of an interactive video which was posted 8 months ago to where you decide. And I'm going to mute the video because I'm not going to play the audio. But what I am going to show you though, this is interactive video. So here do we see we're in a bath. We're in this building. And we're in the men's bathroom. And we see this man getting ready to wash his hands. He's washing his hands. Then all of a sudden something comes. It's this man who's going to the bathroom. So this one, he looks at his phone, is targeting Mr. Quick, and then in just a few seconds, we're about to get into the interactive thing. So what do? Do we punch or do we kick? In the next video, we see what happens. So let's go with, I chose punch. And do we dodge or do we parry? We're dodging. Each of these is like 30 seconds to a minute. And so what he's doing right now is punching. Now he's on the ground. Again, I would play the audio, but I don't want to get copyrighted strike. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, what's our next move? You get to choose before the time limit. So we're going to choose the 1-inch punch. And so here we see him getting beat up. Because it's like secret agent. It's like the secret agent stuff. It's all bloodied and battered and bruised. And so what do? Our next move would be to slap. And so throughout each of these stories, throughout each of the segments, it's like all Netflix are. There's 30 seconds to a minute of this, or just a few minutes. And our next move's gonna be, we go for the bag. Which is a 32-second video. So, what's our next move? We open the bag or we hit him with the bag? We're going to open the bag, which will end with a 52-second video. And so he leaves. And the guy follows him. Now, as the viewer, we're watching the video, and we're going to interact with this. Hence the term interactive. And coming on our next Game Bear Classic, it's going to be all about Ken Canning. So what do? Do we check left? Do we check right? We have to check. We're going to check left, because you choose the wrong one. There ain't no right and wrong answers. It's only if you choose the right one. And so, we'll come to our final decision here in this. What's our next move? Do we shoot him or do we spare him? Remember, that's crossing the line if we shoot him. So, I don't know which one. I'm going to try one or two each. Which ends in a 50-second thing. So, each time, it's all about decision making. When you make a decision, because if you cross the line, you cannot uncross it. That's what I learned from Madman. You don't want to cross a line that you cannot uncross. And Agent Quick has succeeded. That was the Hitman. And again, I really want to play audio of this, but I'm afraid that YouTube would block me. And there's a lot more of these interactive videos from YouTube. Not only that, there's also Netflix Interactive. What's that? Well, it's basically like we've just shown you. But if you have the control of your remote, or if you have the Netflix app on your phone, you get to choose the next situation. And there's lots of Netflix shows or movies that have these interactive movies. Let's give me a quick list. We're going to go on break. Netflix Interactive Movie is just unique kind of engaging in the Netflix library. So we're going to look at these interactive specials, then we're going to take a break. So you got the Squid Game, here's what you do. I can't even show you because I have ad block. And so, here it is. Posted book, tracked an epic tale. Then there's Escape from Undertaker. Then we have the Trivia Quest. Captain Underpants. Epic Choice Obama. You versus the Wild. Cat Burglar. Carmen Sandiego, To Steal or Not to Steal. Unbreakable. Kimmy Schmidt. Kimmy versus the Revered. Headspace. Unwind Your Mind. We Lost Our Human. Barbie the Epic Road Trip. And The Black Mirror. The Bandersnatch. And there's also Love, the Choose Love thing. But there's lots of interactive specials on Netflix. If you have Netflix and you want to take part in this, hey, it's a great thing to do this weekend with the family or with your friends. It'd be really great. We'll be right back. It was just Valentine's Day, dude, 2 days ago. Did you get that someone special a great gift? Maybe it was some candy. Maybe it was a marriage proposal. In tonight's Vowel Break, Jack Doherty surprised her girlfriend with a $100,000 gift. $100,000.
Alright, McKinley. So this one time, I was out of school for a whole week because I was sick. Low-key went all out this year. I dropped a bag, but she better like this. Alright, McKinley. Happy Valentine's Day. I got you 2 things. You start with this one. Look, it matches your Rolex. Van Cleef. It's like rose gold and diamonds and blue, like your watch.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah, this is the crazy one.
Oh my god. Crazy, that's freaking crazy. I'm obsessed with that.
Open this one, open this one.
Okay.
Wait, I'm scared. Don't be scared.
Is it gonna pop out?
No, just be careful. Hey, fine, I'll take it.
Are you kidding me? Are you actually freaking kidding? Chad, I'm gonna freaking cry.
Shout out Time Peace Trading. Hope you have a great Valentine's Day.
Thank you so much, I love you.
Love you, girlfriend number 1. Sorry. Matches your watch perfectly. Damn, that matches.
Literally, look at this. This is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
You're the best ever.
Alright, my turn. Where's my gift?
I swear, bro.
Subscribe and I'll get me a girlfriend that gets me a gift.
That's kind of cool. And here's a proud father.
One goes to a young boy says, 4 friends meet 30 years after school. One goes to the toilet while the other 3 start to talk about how successful their sons have become. Friend number 1 says, my son studied economics, became a banker, and is so rich that he gave his best friend a Ferrari. Friend number 2 adds, my son became a pilot, started his own airline, and became so rich that he gave his best friend a jet. Friend number 3 chimes in, my son became an engineer, started his own development company, and became so rich that he built his best friend a castle. Friend number 4 returns from the toilet and asks, what's the buzz about? The others tell him, we're talking about how successful our sons have become. What about your son? Did he do well too? Friend number 4 replies, well, my son is gay and works as a stripper at a gay bar. The other 3 respond, oh, that must be very disappointing for you. You must wish he had done better than that. But friend number 4 disagrees. No, he's doing just fine. In fact, last week was his birthday, and he received a Ferrari, a jet, and a castle from 3 of his boyfriends. 4 friends meet...
What a joke. Alright. Coming tomorrow at the conclusion to our survival. Actually, we're going to do this week and throughout next week, showing you some survival stories. Including that story I just previewed you right before the break, right before the last 2 breaks. That story is about a daring helicopter and a team that dodges high voltage power lines in an attempt to reach a man marooned on top of the truck with rampaging river. How would they survive? You'll find out. Also, you're going to meet a man who survived a crash. A story about deadly skies. That's tomorrow. Well, if we don't finish more today, we're going to finish on Sunday. So, that's getting break for this. That's getting break for this Friday going to Saturday. Sorry, let's start over. That's all for this edition to Give Me a Break Friday going to Saturday, which is today my birthday, which we're celebrating with some more survival stories on Saturday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Saturday night. on my birthday. Thank you for the birthday wishes. And for all of us here at YouTube, give me a break. No jaywalking. Stop bullying. Speak up. Concentration, not strength. Good night.